Hello and welcome to More Movies Weekly number 16.
Cost the bank $16,000.
This is the podcast where we like to talk about films, movies, cinema, all that sort of stuff. My name's Greg Fisher. This legend sitting next to me is David Roberts. How you doing, Dave?
I'm pretty damn good, sir. How are you?
I'm pretty damn good myself, thank you very much. So we've got loads to talk about this week. Let's crack on with the show. So, this week we have been watching a funny film from 1988, an old teen comedy called License to Drive. This stars Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, and Heather Graham in a hilarious little scenario in which Corey Haim's character Les is all about passing his driving test. Him and his twin sister are both going in for the test at the same time. They've got to do a theory test before they do the practical test, and during the theory test the computers go down and it's unsure whether Les has passed it or not, so they sort of let him through, do the practical test. He takes the practical test, he passes that all right, even though he has a hell of a time with it, and then it comes back afterwards. They find out he actually failed the theory test, so he gets his license revoked, ripped up in front of his face. But then he goes home and they're all so excited that he will have passed his test because all he's been going on about for months is driving a car, taking his friends out, becoming this driver. And he lies to his parents and tells them that he passed. But they soon find out that he didn't. But then he sneaks out and he takes the car out anyway. And then they get into a huge, great adventure one night in his grandpa's car, which is this beautiful looking Cadillac. And yeah, that pretty much sums up the film as far as a overview goes, wouldn't you say, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the setup. I mean, the film is basically how to trash a 1972 Cadillac sedan. Beautiful fucking car. That, as you can gather, in something like this gets fucked.
Excuse his French, ladies and gentlemen. But he's right, it does get absolutely funked up, like James Brown. Pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, I mean, this is a film I'd never seen before. It's not even cropped up on my radar before.
I was going to say, I told you about this film. I wanted you to watch it because it's one of those that's like, in the 80s, you've got all those John Hughes movies and Ferris Bueller and all that, and everybody still remembers them and celebrates them now. Nobody really remembers or talks about License to Drive. Of course, there are those out there that do, but on the whole, generally, people have forgotten about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to find teen 80s comedy that you haven't seen, because, I mean...
Yeah.
A lot of them I have seen at this point.
Sure.
Especially the really big ones,
Yeah.
As you say, the John Hughes films and stuff like that. So it was really interesting to see, and obviously the two Coreys in this.
Well, that's the thing. I know how much you love The Lost Boys. You did a great review of The Lost Boys the other week. You can check that out here on the YouTube channel. Dave did a good review of that there. And because they did a couple of films together, and this was one of the big ones, really, after The Lost Boys. So knowing how much you like The Lost Boys, like, you've got to watch License to Drive.
Yeah, and they're really in their heyday here, and they're in their element doing something like this, because it's a story about where they really were, I guess, at that time in their lives as well. So it is quite nice that it ties in like that. I think there is some incredibly funny stuff in the film. There was stuff I was just bursting out laughing at. I think there's an element that I wanted a bit more from it.
Okay.
I felt it didn't quite have like the heart of John Hughes movies. I think it was missing a little bit. Characters a little bit one-dimensional in some places, and I felt that the biggest thing was in certain scenes, I kind of wanted them to stay there more. Mm-hmm. So, for example, the scene where they pull into that. They finally get to that diner they've been wanting to get to, where the club place where they're parked up outside.
Oh, yeah.
Get the fries and the drinks, and we got some girls going to come back to the car and all that. And obviously they end up bashing the car and having to run off. And it's funny, but I was kind of like, I want them to be there a little bit longer and more of that scene to be explored. And it seemed to be "Oh no, we're off again now," because it's quite
Yeah.
a short film. It's only 90 minutes or so.
It is, yeah.
So it was like I think if they had a little bit more in certain scenes, it could have made it a little bit better. But it didn't take away from the hilarity of it and some of the crazy stunts going on, which were pretty impressive. Classic 80s kind of car crashing and pile-ups and whatnot.
Absolutely. Well, one of my favorite elements of it is the parents. You've got Carol Kane as the idiosyncratic mum who is heavily pregnant. She doesn't say much in it. She hasn't got many lines, but bloody hell, she's really funny. What a great character. And you've got a Richard Mazur as well as his dad. Now, he was in loads of stuff in the 80s, this guy. He was like the 80s dad. He was one of those guys that's like, it's just like, oh, God, love this guy. He's such a cool dad. There's loads of little things like that. I mean, you say it hasn't got the heart of a John Hughes movie, and you might have something there, but there's a lot about this film that does remind me of John Hughes. It emulates the John Hughes genre very much so. Probably most specifically with a film like Ferris Bueller, to be honest, because it's all about doing stuff you're not supposed to do behind your parents' back and trying to get away with it. So it's a very different film from Ferris Bueller in that in the actual storyline, but it's very similar to it in that sense, I think.
Yeah, and I did get vibes of things like Weird Science, in terms of the chase for a girl and all that. It was things like for me, Feldman's character, his mate, and the geeky friend of his,
Charles. I love Charles with his cricket jumper on and his camera. Charles is a legend, man.
They're really great characters, but they're pretty flat. They are exactly what they are, and that could have maybe developed. But it does what it does best. For me, the highlight of the film was sitting there and going, "It's Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air."
James Avery is so good in it. He's so funny. It's just such a great role for him. That, and the way he's almost like some sort of like ex-Vietnam combat marine or something, because he's like, "See you on the battlefield, soldier."
Thought that whole sequence from start to finish, and the callback later on with the coffee cup and everything, was just genius. And I really thought that was very well played.
Yeah. Another great character is that woman from the DMV. With the red hair. There's a great shot that introduces her where it's like tight in on her and it sort of pulls back over all of the computers and they're all sitting there. And I really like that shot. I thought it reminded me of something like, one of those Roald Dahl films like The Witches or something like that. I don't know why, but I thought that was a really cool introduction to that character. And she's just so funny. She has that whole, "Don't fuck with the DMV. We can make your life hell."
You mustn't fuck with the Department of Motor Vehicles, Mr. Anderson. We can make your life a living hell.
You just don't expect those sort of that sort of language from someone like that, but very funny. But yeah, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, the two Coreys, as they came to be known, really good partnership with them two. Obviously, it worked in The Lost Boys, and they sort of kept them together, I suppose, because they were both Corey as well, and they probably got on well as friends in personal life. Of course, poor Corey Haim has got, he had quite a tragic life. He never really, neither of them really went on to much success into their 20s and 30s. They both got sort of sidelined a little bit, and I think Corey Haim had trouble with drug addictions, and I think they both did actually, but more Corey Haim than anything, and he died very young, and it's real tragedy. I remember finding out about that and thinking, God, because you look at him as something like this, and he is a star, He's got that cheeky sort of way about him. He's a good little actor. He's perfectly cast for a film like this.
He's got the look and the charisma, and it turned out tragic. I mean, tragically for both of them, really, because Feldman as well, with all the. We never know the truth with it at the certainly at this moment in time, but there's the allegations of sexual abuse, there's the drug abuses over the years. It's certainly not gone well.
Not at all.
So for both of them, this was the heyday, and what came afterwards was not pretty.
Well, Corey
unfortunately.
Feldman has just turned 50 a few days ago.
Yeah.
That does make me feel old. But, God love him. But yeah, like I say, another point about the film as well is it's notable for being, I think, Heather Graham's first sort of major role in a film.
I didn't even realise, who she was really watching the film, and then I was looking up afterwards. I was like, "Oh, she was in Austin Powers, and she's in The Hangover, and all these things." And I'm like,
Bowfinger.
right, yeah,
Really good in that.
So it's like, okay, I get it now. But she's so young here.
Very young. Yeah, she's teenager and stuff, but. Love it. All that great curly hairsprayed 80s hair and all the fashions. I mean, it is an incredibly funny caper of a film. Like we said, things go from bad to worse. He takes this car out without permission because he's just trying to get a date with this girl. He'll do anything for her.
Anything, yeah.
And they go to that club. It doesn't work out. The car nearly gets towed. It's going, oh, God, it's getting bad for him. And you're thinking, Les, you're just going to get in loads of trouble here. And then there's that scene where they go out to that hillside and they're overlooking the town. And she's quite drunk by then. But, she asks him to put some music on and it ends up the only tape that'll play is his grandpa's Frank Sinatra tape. And they're listening to that. And there's a little bit of a moment there. I mean, talk about having heart in the film. I felt that was quite a cute scene. And, they're dancing on the hood of the car. And he is less obsessed with her by that point and more obsessed with the car because she's got the heels and it's scratching. And he's almost learning responsibility on the way. And by the time they come across that drunk driver who takes the car by accident, I was sitting here watching that scene. I mean, I hadn't watched it for a good 15, maybe 20 years since I watched it fresh for this podcast, but I was pissing my pants watching that scene with him. The way he's lining up all those little miniatures and the Frank Sinatra comes on and you can tell he's into it and he's like, looks like I'm in for the night. I was just like, oh, my days. That is funny. It's over the top. It's silly, but it's very funny.
The whole trying to jump into the, swap cars on the highway, it's like Laurel and Hardy,
It is, it's that kind of old-fashioned thing, Buster Keaton or
brilliant.
something.
I think there's some incredibly funny stuff in there. I think of all the criticism for me is just that it was a bit rushed, and it got things through too quickly. And looking up, directed by Greg Beeman, this was his first film, so I can kind of see that now that he's just getting used to it. He's actually gone on to do more TV stuff than film after this, but
fair enough.
But pretty solid, and it's it's good old fashioned, funny 80s comedy. It's exactly the era.
I'd say to youngsters nowadays, teens nowadays, if they have gone back to those kind of John Hughes movies, Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller, Weird Science, and the rest of it, if they've gone back to them and enjoyed them, they should definitely check out License to Drive because it's lesser known, but it's just as funny. It's just as good in a lot of ways.
Well worth checking out, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So, there we go. License to Drive. Go check it out.
I'm so dead, they're going to have to bury me twice.
So, in last week's podcast, we were discussing Fear Street, Part 1, 1994. As we've said last week, they've got sequels coming out 1 week after the other. So, we have since had chance to watch Part 2. So it's Fear Street Part 2, 1978. We're not going to go on about it for too long because we kind of covered Fear Street last week, but it's nice to do a little bit of a follow-up on it. What did you think?
Yeah, it was great. It was great. It's kind of what I expected. Enjoyable little film. It's fun to be in 1978.
Yeah.
It was that kind of what we expected at the summer camp kind of thing. I didn't think it was as strong as the first part, but that's not to say anything against it. It's just that I thought the first part stronger. It was very enjoyable. I suppose the bit that annoyed me really was for all that the gruesome kills in the first one, and there was some in this one. I was a bit annoyed that they were like deliberately not showing the kids' deaths, and I was like, "You're wimping out here.
Right?
I want to see those heads rolling."
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I did see. I mean, when she chopped that guy's head off with this shovel,
I thought
that was a head roller. And when they get axed, or that very end bit where they're getting sort of murked, that was quite. I thought, geez, it was quite grisly. I mean, I thought I actually enjoyed it more than the first part, and I did enjoy the first part. Nothing against that, but I didn't expect to, but I enjoyed the second part even more. I think that's probably got a lot to do with, it really did remind me, this one, of Friday the 13th, especially like Friday the 13th Part 3, where they're all smoking dope all the time, and they had a massive element of them smoking loads of weed in this one. And that kind of killer with the axe, he was very much based on Jason Voorhees. And I just like the intricacies between the characters. I like the music in this one because they had all that really great 70s music blasting in. They even had that Neil Diamond track that they used in
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
In Hollywood. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is cool. And I really liked at the very start, they had Nirvana's version of Man Who Sold the World, because it was obviously 94 for that bit. And then when they come back and it comes all full circle, right before the end, they had the Bowie version of Man Who Sold the World. And I really appreciated that. Yeah, I thought it was very cool. Again, the same sort of things is that, like we said last week, it was kind of an amalgamation of the 90s rather than specifically anchored in 94. And this one I felt stretched maybe into the early 80s as well, in terms of it being based in 78, but some of the styles and whatnot and different things about it kind of became a little bit 80s. But again, very minor criticism. I thought this one was just a little bit more, there was just a little bit more at stake. It was a little bit sexier. They had these, these characters were a little bit less clean cut in that sense. Obviously, no neon in this one because it was all sort of like beige and earth tones with the 70s and everything, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I really I thought I liked the characters a lot more, like Ziggy and stuff. I thought that was all brilliant.
And seeing the sheriff when he was younger as well, and his brother, and those two, and they're sort of like ending it all, and it was like
the link up to what happened in the first part and stuff was all very cool. Yeah. I guess what all the kind of smoking part and having sex in the cabins, fantastic. All that was done brilliantly and great kills and stuff. I think what I was less interested in was all that shit down in the caves about the witches and this was built in this way and all that, and some of that just dragged to me, and I was like, oh, I don't care.
Well, I felt like that stuff's the stuff to tie into the next installment. Because obviously you've got to have a kind of like starting point for all this. So it's going to be in 1666, and this time I did watch the little trailer at the end, so I kind of got an idea of what's coming next. But I think all that stuff in the cave was a bit necessary to set up for the next one. Funnily enough, some of that stuff there, I think just aesthetically speaking, it was reminding me of the Goonies, because they're in that cave system for a lot of it, and they're trying to get out of the booby traps and all that. And I was thinking, there's a little bit of the Goonies in this, a little bit, that sort of element to it. But yeah, excited to see episode 3 now, part 3, 1666, see what happens. But yeah, I'd give a good few stars to part 2, 1978. It was all right. It wasn't bad. Not bad at all, sir.
So elsewhere in movie news, this theme seems to be something that we keep on bringing up. It keeps on coming up, but it is, of course, incredibly important. An analyst's report came out this week, basically suggesting that the box office isn't going to return to 2019 normal until at least 2024, even if cinemas open tomorrow, because we're starting to obviously now we're seeing cinemas reopening and across different places around the world. Certainly here in the UK, cinemas are open now, and they're going to have more capacity in the next few months as things start to reopen. But it certainly isn't going to guarantee the box office numbers that companies are expecting, and so this is obviously going to have an impact on funding for future films and the profits and whatnot. And
it's certainly going to have an impact on this whole on-demand side, where they're coming straight to these sort of platforms, Netflix, Disney, the rest of it. I certainly agree there. I don't think they'll stop making films because of it or anything, or cut down the amount of films they're making, but we might see films that have maybe less of a big blockbuster budget.
Yeah, no, I don't think it won't stop films, of course, but certainly if they're looking on paper and going, well, we haven't made as much money, we need to recoup some back. It's exactly that in terms of they're not going to spend £300 million on a movie. It'll be okay. Let's do something a bit cheaper. And there's more. We've been talking about the move more into on demand and Netflix and stuff. It's going to have even more
2024,
priority.
That's 3 years away before they predict a return to 2019 normals.
Yeah.
But I'm not really surprised by that because, to be honest with you, they are starting to open up stuff a bit more, but the virus hasn't gone away. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like...
I think the thing is people just got to remember that it's not going to go away anywhere time soon. It's about managing something like that, as we have done with.
I mean, we went and see. Still, the last time I went to the cinema, I know you've been since, but we went to see Tenet in the summer of last year. We didn't catch it. It was socially distanced. We had masks on. We, had the washing our hands and all the rest of it. You've been again since. You went to watch Terminator 2 the other month. We've had our jabs as well now as well. So, that does help, I think, but, I can understand it not getting back to normal for a while, whether it'll be as long as 2024, I don't know, but
I think it's the thing of,
it's going to take time, isn't it?
It will take time, and it's interesting what impact this will have against, because we know films have been delayed and stuff like this, and there's impact on a box office at some things, but some have had great box office turns. But we've seen the transference to on-demand content, and how much is this going to really, really change the game? But it's the impact it has on, let's say, independent films and smaller films, because the blockbusters don't go anywhere. And Star Wars and Indie and all those kind of things, they'll always be at the cinema. The big productions, lots of money goes into them. That's the thing. But for smaller films, I mean, they've been progressing away from cinema for a while.
Yeah.
It just could really be like, that's not where you go and watch those kind of films anymore, which is, a slight shame. But
it is, and it's a shame for not just independent film, but independent theatres.
Theatres, yeah.
Because they tend to be the type of places that will play what we call foreign films, as much as I hate that title, but, foreign language films and independent films. There's a place just up the road here, Wyside Arts Centre. They play a lot of that sort of stuff. But they, places like that are going to struggle without, because people like myself that want to support them, that want to go, but it's obviously got to be safe enough to. And we're not out of it yet, mate. So just another quick one I wanted to discuss with you as well, because we're both quite excited about this. But the French Dispatch has just had its premiere at the Cannes Film Festival yesterday. The new Wes Anderson film stars Bill Murray, Timothée Chalamet, Léa Seydoux, loads of them. There's so many bloody people in this. All the usual Wes Anderson crew and more.
And more, yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to see this film. Its reactions seem to be pretty good so far as well, as you would expect.
Yeah, reading a lot of stuff coming out of it. It seems to be universal acclaim over it. I've tried not to read the reviews. I've seen the headlines.
Any spoilers?
Exactly. So I've kind of seen the headlines and the little snippets of, what people are thinking, which all is really positive stuff, as we kind of expected it to be. We don't want to delve too deep into the reviews of it, because I'm kind of like, I want to appreciate this when it comes out.
Yeah, I've seen the trailer, and that's enough. There's enough to pique interest there. You get the idea of what it's about, and that's enough. And now I just want to go and see it. But it's just fabulous that, it's taken so long. I mean, so many of these films have been put back now that they are starting to get released, There's only a handful left that, like Bond or Dune or something like that are still, still pending. But thank goodness the French Dispatch has had its premiere at least, and, can't wait to see it.
1 hour to press.
You're fired.
Really?
Don't cry in my office.
And so we come to the end of the show, so just a quick chance to mention a few things. We want to give a big shout out to Jen B for supporting us over on Buy Us a Coffee. She bought us a lovely coffee the other day, so I enjoyed a nice cappuccino. So thank you very much for that. If you like our content and would like to support us, you can jump on buymeacoffee.com and donate there, or you can jump over to Patreon and subscribe to one of our packages over there as well. The links will be in the description down below.
I wanted a soy mocha latte with foam.
Also, we've got the tweet of the week, which this week comes from Reconsidering Cinema, someone we follow there on Twitter. Really good account. Has lots of interesting stuff about film. But it just simply says morning, and it's obviously Shelley Duvall from her performance as Wendy Torrance in The Shining, but it's done in the fashion of a baseball card. I know, like, we don't collect baseball cards over here. We used to collect football stickers, Panini football sticker albums, but it's a very similar thing. And it's quite popular over there. I just thought that was hilarious because, that whole scene at the end with her and the bat swinging for Jack, I thought... He comes up with some great stuff. He's a great account to follow. So get on Twitter and follow Reconsidering Cinema if you like that sort of thing.
Also, we've got a load of articles out this week on our website as usual, moremovies.co.uk. We've got our This Week in Film History article, which covers births, deaths, and other events that happen in the world of cinema each week. So you can go check that out right now.
And we've done a top 5 Richard Donner films after the sad news last week hearing that the great director had passed away at 91 years old. I thought it was a good opportunity to do our top 5 Richard Donner films, so you can go and check that out. Again, link below in the description if you want to take a sneak peek there.
Brilliant stuff there, a tribute to Richard Donner. I've also done a review of Moonlight, the 2016 coming-of-age drama. The review is up now on our website and, of course, on YouTube, Film in 5, so link in the description as well there.
And please do come and join us on social media. It's at More Movies For You across the board. Come and join us on something like Instagram or TikTok, where we do silly things like the movie of the day. I like these guys. They're funny guys. Just kill one of them. Today's movie is The Three Amigos, directed by John Landis. It stars Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short. It's got some good songs in it by Randy Newman. It's funny, it's hilarious, it's a laugh a minute. What more could you possibly ask for? And there we have it, my son. We are done for another week. Let's come back next week. Let's have some more fun and talk about cinema and discuss the things we've been watching. If you want to have a say in what we review or what we discuss, then please become a patron on patreon.com. There you can have a say in what we do here on the show. So feel free to do that. If you're already on Patreon, we're there too. Links in the description below. Until next time, thanks very much for joining us. And remember to keep watching more movies. Well, guys, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to leave us a comment and smash that like button right here on YouTube. In the meantime, if you want to check out more of our reviews and articles, check out our website, moremovies.co.uk. And come and join us on social media, at moremovies4you. That's Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all of that jazz. And if you want to support us because you like our content, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com, or you can just buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com. All the links are in the description below. And to check out more of our filmtastic content, click on one of the buttons on screen now.